So yeah, so we just want to know like where's everyone from? If you can just add it to the chat box, that'll be great, and then we can kickstart from there. Okay, so I see someone's from Mumbai. Wow, and we have a lot of people from Mumbai, and we have people from Bangalore as well. So a lot of people from Mumbai, a lot of people from Bangalore, Delhi. Yeah, so welcome everyone who's from India. And I can also see someone from Singapore. And okay, there's someone from United States and London. So not only people from India, but people from all over the world. That's really cool. And hope to see you till the end of this webinar. And we're gonna, make it very interesting. We're gonna elaborate on the 20 use cases. So yeah, I think we're good to go. What do you say, Sanjana? Should we begin?
Yeah, we'll start with the.
All right. Yeah. So the 20 use cases of automation it is, we'll be taking you through a lot of use cases of how you can use automations. And ideally the agenda for today's call or today's webinar would be firstly an introduction, and we'll have a quick overview of automation and how automation can be used to enhance customer experience. And then the 20 use cases of automation is something we'll be talking about. And we'll also look at how you can set up automations in Konnect Insights and the caveats for automations, which is again, an extremely important thing to know how and when to set automations. And also a Q&A at the end of the call where we'll be taking a few questions from everyone, and we'll be happy to answer them as well. So moving forward, ideally a quick introduction. Yeah, so I'll just introduce myself real quick. I'm Errol D'Souza. I'm the solutions engineer at Konnect Insights, and I am associated with Konnect for the past 1 year. And we're working a lot with brands, with agencies on a day-to-day basis, providing solutions on how they can leverage Konnect Insights to ideally assist and help them in customer experience. So that's the whole motive out here. And I'll leave it on to Sanjana. She can give a quick introduction of herself as well.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Sanjana Bise. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Konnect Insights. I'm associated with the brand for the last 5 years. So I'm the face behind support@connectinsights.com. I enjoy solving all your queries, and I'm always available to do it so. So Errol, could you just give me a quick overview of the automations?
Yeah, sure. So, starting off with the automation section and how you can use it in Konnect Insights. So firstly, Konnect Insights being an omni-channel customer experience management platform, with a lot of things that can be done within the system. You have automations, which is again an important part because you have data coming in from social media. When we talk about data coming in from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as emails. So at times you want to automate few processes, and with the help of these automations, whenever a customer writes to you, you can send out an automated reply. You can define the time you want to send it instantly or within a certain period of time. You can have that defined as well, and this eventually results in enhancing your customers experience, and this will help the brand in their online reputation as well. Now when we talk about how this helps and the features of how this is actually effective, is that with the help of these automations that you set, you're eventually reducing your turnaround time. You can save time of your users, of your agents who are handling these conversations, handling these queries, and you can allocate them for different things. If there are conversations that are more critical, if there are conversations that are extremely important, and you want to allocate them for different kinds of conversations, that's when with the help of these automations, you can manage your workforce in a much better way. And then we talk about how your team productivity would increase based on these automations that you've set. And similarly, you're also providing round the clock customer service. Now, this is extremely important because there are brands that don't function for 24 hours, right? So then eventually you have people who will be your customers writing to you, and you'll have automated responses being sent to them. So a quick overview on how automations are used and how automations can be set in Konnect Insights. Now, moving forward, what we'd be looking at today is the 20 use cases of automations and how, with the help of these cases that we've analyzed, we've noted it down, and how we will be having a quick look at it and how they can help you. So when we look at the first case of automation being your first response acknowledgement. So we'll have a quick look at that. When we talk about the first response acknowledgement, what exactly that refers to is that when you have your customer writing to the brand for the first time. So let's take, for an instance, we work with one of our partners very closely who have set up the similar kind of automation for emails. Whenever the customer writes for the first time, they send out an automated response stating that, hi, thanks for writing. We'll be happy to help you. Allow us some time while we get back to you. So that's a case where your customer writes to you, you send out the first response, which is extremely critical. And the faster you send out the first response, it helps the brand in boosting their reputation. It could be on social media, it could be on emails, it could be through any medium. So the faster the first response is set, that eventually helps in brand reputation. So with the first case that we've seen, which is first response acknowledgement, basically refers to your customer writing to you, and then you sending out your first response to your customer, letting them know that. Talk about the second use case, that is context-based automation. Now, this one's very interesting. So you can set up automations based on certain keywords or based on the context of your customer writing to you. Now, to give you a use case for this, let's take an example of a brand in the healthcare sector. They usually receive conversations where people are talking about, what's the cost of this treatment, or how much would this treatment cost, or what's the price, something like that. So then what they do is, with the help of this automation, what you can do is that on the basis of the keyword price, you can send out an automated reply. And now if you want to send this via DM, so if you want to directly send it to the private message, or if you want to give it on the mention as well, usually they prefer to send it out on DMs because you have pricing involved. You don't want to directly send it out to a Twitter mention or in Facebook or Instagram comment. So you define it like, the customer comes on a Twitter mention and you're sending out the response via DM. So that's when your context-based automation works. It works on the basis of keywords, and you can define on what keyword should you trigger that automated response. So that's something that you get to define once again. And on the basis of that, you're sending out an automated reply. The next case that we'll be looking at is auto replies during business hours. Now, there are brands that function 24 hours. You'd also have brands that function for a certain period of time, let's say 10 to 7 or 9 to 5. It again depends on how the brand would like to function. So what exactly are we referring at, auto replies during business hours is that you can set up certain rules that either it could be your first response, or either it could be on the basis of, like, let's say if your customer says, hi, I need help, or hey, we're looking for help in this particular department, or something like that. On the basis of that, during your working hours, you can send out an automated reply. Now, when you send out automated replies, right, you need to also keep in mind that there are a few exceptions where you shouldn't send automated replies. And this one's interesting because, when we're talking about negative comments, like if there is someone or if there's a customer who is going through something and they've just written to the brand asking for help, or they're looking out for a solution, at that case, it's important to understand that not to send out automated replies to negative comments, because that could hamper brand's reputation. Because if your customer comes on let's say on Twitter or on Facebook seeking out for help, and there could be instances where they're really going through something and you send out an automated response. So it's just, again, the brand needs to analyze, need to identify when and how to send out automated responses. The similar thing goes for influencers as well. People or influencers with more than 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, they post a lot of content and you have a lot of people actually viewing that content. So even important to know that when you're setting up automations, you need to do a lot of research, you need to understand and analyze what's the demographics, what the kind of people who write to your brand, and various use cases revolving around that as well. So when we talk about the next case that we have is auto replies during non-working hours. Now, what usually happens is that, as I mentioned earlier, there are brands that only function for a certain period of time. That could be, let's take an example of 10 to 7. So after 7, if you have customers writing, and let's take an example, if someone's writing at 10 o'clock in the night or 11 o'clock in the night, you want to send out the response at least to make your customer know that your brand is there. We are right here to help you. Because when you send out that response, when a customer writes to you, even at a non-working hour, and if you just send out the response, it consoles them. It just lets them know that, okay, there's somebody to help. The brand actually cares about what I'm writing to them. I have received a response. So that's when it's really helpful when you set up your auto replies during non-business hours. And if your customer writes, you can just say that we will get back to you during working hours, or you can have someone assigned to take care of your query as soon as possible, or something like that, where your customer at least knows that, okay, I'm going to receive a response very soon, and they are happy about it. And eventually that helps improve customer experience as well. Moving forward, like the next case is again interrelated to all the previous two use cases that we saw, which is auto replies during non-working hours. So what usually happens is that if you're a brand and you're not working on, let's say, either Republic Day or Independence Day or any of the festivals that are around, and at those cases, you can also send out a response during non-working hours or non-working days, where you're telling your customer that, we don't have anyone right now, but we will get back to you as soon as we have someone to help you with your query or with your concern. And yet again, it's important to understand that we shouldn't be, brands usually do not send it out on negative comments or on influencer conversations. So again, identifying all of these factors plays an important role before, actually leveraging automations for different scenarios. But I'll leave it over to Sanjana now. She'll be taking you through the next set of use cases. So yeah, over to you, Sanjana.
Thank you, Errol, for such a detailed explanation on the automations. Moving ahead, we have some more use cases under the automations. One of those is auto response via DM. So there are instances where a user has posted something publicly like a tweet, and as a brand, you want to address him on a DM. So what you can do is you can even set up an automation wherein the auto response just directly runs up to the DM of the user. Going ahead, we have is follow-up response and closure. So there are instances where a user comes to you stating he's facing some issue. Now, as a brand, you want them to get some details from him. Now, as a brand, you're awaiting a response to it. You mark it under as follow-up. Now you're awaiting a response from the user's end. There are instances where the user might get back to you or might not. In such cases, the ticket tends to remain in follow-up for a very long duration. So what you can do is you can set up an automation for that as well. So as a brand, you can reduce your manual intervention as well. What you can do is you can set up an automation with a time frame stating after 7 days. If the user doesn't write back to me, a response should be generated from the brand's end and the ticket should get closed. So in that case, even the user tends to know that the brand is more keen to know about the things that the user is facing into, or is keen to know what exactly is happening into. So in such cases, what you can do is you can set up an follow-up response and you can even close the tickets later on if the user is not coming back to. Next we have is auto classify and closure. So as a brand, you run a lot of campaigns. There's a lot of comments and engagement happening on your posts. You receive a lot of comments. Now, to reduce the manual efforts, now each and every comment is not to be addressed. What you can do is you can set up an automation where you can tag these comments on a particular classifications that you have created for your brand, and you can then close it. So this ideally reduces your manual efforts as well. The next one that we have is asking for contact details. So taking an example of a banking industry, if a user tells he's interested more into a loan requirements. Now, as a brand, you need some contact details to get in touch with him to ask him what exactly his requirements are. So what you can do is you can create an automation for that as well. So one thing that we have here is the user who has already shared the contact details, the automation should not get triggered to him. So we have a condition where you can ideally decide stating if he has not shared the contact details, then only an auto response should be sent out for asking his contact details. Moving ahead, we have is multi-response automation. So taking an example over here for an automobile industry. Now, as an automobile brand, you have a lot of posts which is sending out on the social media. Now, people go and comment it, asking for the price of the models. Now, as a brand, you want to address them, but on a personal level, stating this is the price of this model, but you don't want to keep that particular comment unanswered. What you can do is you can make use of multiple response automation. So you can send the pricing details basically on the DM, and later on, you can even address the public comment stating, we have DM you the details, please check your inbox. So this is where multi-response automation comes into the picture. Yeah. So Errol, were you taking up from here?
Yes, I'll be taking up from here. Actually, there was a question in the chat box, which I was just drafting a response to.
I'll take up to that.
All right, that's good. But before I proceed with the next part, I just want to know from everyone, are we going too fast by any chance? Do you want us to go a bit slow? Because you can just let us know that as well, and we can accordingly time ourselves. But yeah, when we talk about the next use case, which is again one of my favorites use case, I would say, when we talk about Google My Business ratings automation. Now, what exactly this refers to, and this has a very interesting thing, and based on one of our partners who are using it very actively. When we say Google My Business, right, there are brands in the retail industries that could have like approximately 250 to 300 stores across India, or it could be any part of the world. So in that case, what exactly happens is that if you want to automate a lot of your ratings, so if they are receiving a lot of ratings on a daily basis, and we've actually noticed that there are brands that on a weekly basis or on a daily basis are receiving thousands of reviews for their different store locations. So in that case, they are also receiving that many amount of conversations from different structures as well. When you're talking about social media, when you're talking about emails, so at least one of their data points can be automated. And then Google My Business is an extremely important use case, because if you're receiving 1,000 to 2,000 reviews on a weekly basis, you can automate a lot of your reviews with the help of the automations that Konnect Insights offers. Now, when we say you have 1-star rating, 2-star rating, similarly 3, 4, 5, and you can set up different draft templates to send out responses for these different ratings that you are receiving. And the best part now, not only that, you also have the option to randomize it. So if you ideally see at the next slide that I'll be taking you through, yeah, just a minute. Yeah, you can automate your usage of multiple drafts or replies. Now, like I said, if you're receiving 1-star ratings or 5-star ratings, you don't want to send the same kind of response to every review that you're receiving. So you also have the option to randomize your responses that you're sending. So when you set up the automation, right, you got to set these draft templates. Draft templates basically refer to responses that you can pre-save, or you can save it in Konnect Insights. And on the basis of these responses that you've saved, you'll be sending out your automated responses. So as I mentioned, like if you have saved 10 canned responses for 1-star rating, if you receive 10 1-star ratings on a daily basis, there'll be different responses sent for each. And similarly, if you look at the next use case, so these were 2 use cases. You also have sentiment-based automation. Now, what exactly sentiment-based automation refers to? Let's take for an instance, like you're setting up an automation for only positive conversations. When someone appreciates your brand, or when someone says that I use this product of this specific brand and they really loved it, or it's the best in the market. That's when you can send out an automated response to that specific mention or to that specific comment, again, on it being positive. So for that also, you can set up different draft templates. So if you have a set of 10 templates, or if you have a set of 20 templates, you can have all of this saved in Konnect Insights. And as and when you're receiving either your Google My Business reviews, or if you're receiving conversations coming in from social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you can have that automated by sending different responses. Just for it, it will look randomized. It will not look like you have a bot sending out these replies. It will not look extremely automated. It's just that there are different responses sent for each and every conversation. which is an extremely important use case. So these were three of the use cases that we covered. When we talk about the next one, which is follower-based automation or follower-based auto response. So like, when we were talking earlier with regards to, being cautious, being aware while setting up automations for influencers, but also there could be instances where it's like, let's take an example. A brand has a giveaway kind of a situation. Influencers are putting out a lot of posts, either talking positively or, it could be negative. It could be anything ideally, right? So in that case, you can also set up, follower based auto responses. So for anyone with followers more than 1,000, or with anyone with followers more than 5,000, or similarly, it could be a lesser number of followers as well, you can have the follower based auto responses set. So on the basis of, followers, you can define what responses should be sent. Either if it's for a negative conversation, it could be extremely critical as well. So you can define it for different scenarios, and you can send out automated replies on the basis of followers, which you will set in Konnect Insights itself. The next one that we'll be talking about is auto close resolve tickets. So what exactly this case refers to is that if you're receiving like 100 tickets or 200 tickets on a daily basis, out of which you're marking 50 tickets as resolved because you as a brand have provided resolution to your customer. And now what happens is that, when customers need assistance, when they need help from the brand, that's when they're extremely active. Usually once you provide the resolution from your side, they may not get back to you saying that they are happy with the resolution or they are satisfied with it. That depends. If they are happy, they would just ideally, because it's a fast-paced world, you don't have a lot of time to respond all the time. So that's how it works, usually. So in that scenarios, whenever you mark a ticket as resolve, and then you're waiting for a customer to write back so you can close the ticket because you don't know whether they're happy with it, whether they're not. So that's when you would close it. But you can define it, let's say if the customer doesn't come for 24 hours or 48 hours or even 7 days, again, you have the ability to define that. So let's say if they do not come in for 7 days, your ticket is marked for resolve for 7 days, and then you automatically close it. So that cuts down a lot of manual effort. Otherwise, what you need to do is go through your resolve tickets, see tickets that are past 24 hours, past 48 hours, and then close it. Rather than that, you're just automating the process, eliminating a lot of manual effort, and just closing those tickets that are marked as resolved with the help of advanced automation. And that's an extremely important use case, because ideally having this done would cut down your close stat. So it will cut down a humongous amount of your close stat. You'll be managing tickets in a much more better format. And that's what brands want, right? They just want to, reduce their turnaround time. They want to manage conversations. They want to manage tickets in such a way that ideally at the end of the day, the turnaround time is low. That's how it works. So that was again a list of use cases from my side. I'll again hand it over to Sanjana. She'll be taking it further from here.
Thanks, Errol. So moving ahead to the few more automations we have is one of those is severity based automation. So as you are aware of, we have severity you can define in the platform. So you can define severity with various parameters, and basis this severity, you can set automations in the platform as well. The severity could be critical, high, low, medium, and according to severity, you want to get the automated responses sent out. What you can do is create a rule for that, and then you can send out the automations accordingly. The next one that we have is exact match auto response. So giving an example, there are a lot of instances wherein the user just comes and puts hi and leaves the brand ghosted. So in this case, the brand awaits stating what exactly the user has put down to. Is he facing any issue, or he's having some concern, or he is having some query? So in this, the brand can generate different responses stating wherever a user puts just hi, the brand could trigger an automated response stating, hi, how can we help you? Hi, please let us know what exactly you are getting into. So that's how you can create an automation where an exact match as well. Moving ahead, we have is auto response during campaigns. So as a brand, there are a lot of campaigns being run out. There are a lot of engagement happening. There's a lot of conversations that coming in. So what you can do is to reduce the manual intervention on this, you can create an automation wherein for this particular campaign post, all the comments coming in, you can have those auto classified, you can auto closed. So it will reduce the manual effort for the brand as well. So this is very beneficial to the brand also. Now, moving ahead to, we have the next automation, which is auto assignment to users and team. So over here, we can take an example of insurance industry. So under insurance industries, there are various departments, saying the reimbursement department, the renewal department. If a user comes in, states he needs to renew his policy. So what you can do is on a keyword based automation, that is context based, you can set an automation wherein if a user is putting down renewal based conversation, this particular ticket should get assigned to the renewal department, and later on the renewal department will take ahead the ticket from their end, and they'll get in touch with the user for their queries and all. And so this is how you can set up the auto assignment to various users and the teams that are part of the platform. Moving ahead, we have is a language and country-based automation. So as a brand, you have a global presence all over the world. So each of this, there might be a team who would be handling it for a particular country, for a particular language. So if a user comes in which he belongs to a country and he is writing into a specific language, that particular conversation can get assigned to that particular agent who is working from that particular country, or who's basically working on that particular language as well. So you can even set an automation on these two parameters also. So this will help the brand in segregating the conversations also. Like they'll get an idea, yeah, this user has come up from say London, this user is writing us from the German, and you can Germany, you can even have idea of that as well. So moving ahead to now, as we have done with all the automations use cases, we'll see how to set up these automations in the Konnect Insights. Allow me a minute to switch the screen until that Errol can take up the questions in the chat box.
So yeah, ideally we had a list of questions in the chat as well. So people were like, how to define business hours in Konnect Insights. So we have something called as admin page where you can define your business hours. So let's say if you work from 10 to 7, you have that defined. And again, TAT is only calculated in that business hours, and then apart from the business hours, it's not calculated, and then it's calculated from the next day once again. So a lot of cases, a lot of use cases. Now I think once Sanjana completes her demonstration, we will talk about another use cases.
I hope the screen is visible, Eric.
Yes, Sanjana, it's visible.
Yeah, I'll just log in into my account. Yeah, so I'll show you how these automations can be set up in the platform as well. So as you can see, there's a list coming up. So these are the automations that we have already set up. To create a new automation, we need to click on this add new automations. Now, firstly, we'll click on the create option and we'll check out how we can set up the automation as well. So firstly, we'll take an example of the say business hours automation. So I'll name it the non-business hours. Now I want to choose on which particular social type I want this automated response to be. It can be on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So I'll go ahead with the Twitter ones. Under Twitter, now I'll select the profile. So then I can select the brand profile from here. And under profile, we have various platforms. So on the Twitter, we have is Twitter mentions and Twitter DMs. So as I want to trigger this automation only on DMs, I'll untick the Twitter mentions and go ahead with the Twitter DMs itself. You can even add a description for your own reference, so you can get an idea. This is a particular automation which is set for non-business hours, specifically for Twitter DMs. I'll click on save. And the second most major part of automations would be setting up the rules. These rules would play a big part in setting up the automations. Basis these rules, only the automations will get triggered to the end users. So over here, we have is message contains text. So basically over here, you can define an automations on basic keywords. So as a brand, if some users are are putting appreciation posts, I want to address those posts as well. So I can add the keywords stating satisfied with the services, nice service, great facilities provided. So I can have some keywords added over here. And I can even select the sentiment. So wherever people are writing positive about my brand and I want to address those queries, I can and select the sentiment also. Next to that, we have severity. So as I mentioned, you can define automation on severity. You can have different severities created and you can choose on which severity you want to set up the automation as well. Then we have is followers on the ticket status on a country and a language level as well. And later on, we have the set rules for users, wherein I mentioned, so if there are instances where the user has already shared the contact details and you don't want to send an automation state asking for those details again, so you can choose the option over here if not available. So if the user has not shared his contact details in any past thing, so you can select this and then the automation regarding asking for their contact details would get sent out to the end users. So once we are done with this, so as this automation of non-business hours is for all the conversations coming in, I won't select any keyword based or over here. I'll go ahead with this. I'll click on save. Once I'm done with the rules, then comes is the set actions timing. So when this particular automation should get triggered, it should be an immediate action or define on time interval. So if I want to be on half an hour after the conversation comes in, I can even bifurcate on that as well. I'll go ahead with the immediate action. I'll click on save. Later on, once we are done with the action timing, what action I want to choose. So as I mentioned, I want to set up an automation for non-business hours. So what I'll do is when it's an option replies on, I'll click on define time interval over here. I click on this and I'll choose non-business hours. Once this is done, now I'll select what exactly the response as a brand I want to send out to. So there's an option where I can select multiple draft templates also. So the responses gets randomized. So whenever people are writing to me beyond the business hours, automated response would be generated to them as per the draft templates that I have selected over here. And once I have selected templates from here, I click on finish. And this is the automations that is set up. So this is how you can create various automations in the Konnect Insights. You can set it for all your social media profiles and all. Yeah.
Yes, Sanjana, thanks for that. Yeah. So then, as you know, as we discussed in the agenda slide, what exactly we'll be doing today. We also saw about the caveats for automations. So again, before you set up automations, right, there are a lot of pointers that need to be analyzed. There are a lot of use cases that you need to look at before you actually go ahead and set up automations, because what happens is that every customer also wants that the human touch. They like when they have someone responding to conversations. Actually, everyone, there are times where everyone does not like an automated response being sent to them. So that's when brands need to identify when and how they can set up these automations to help them ideally enhance their customer experience, because the whole motive for a brand as well is to improve customer experience in some way or the other. And then let's quickly dive into the caveats for automations. So the first pointer that's mentioned is negative sentiment. So as we already discussed previously, you cannot always send out an automated response for a negative conversation, because if someone is writing negatively, it's either they have something in their mind which they're not happy with, they're going through something, and in those cases, sending out an automated reply would just ideally trigger them. It would not, it would not make them happy. They would just get even more irritated. So that's when that's an extremely important case to identify how you're setting up the automations, setting it up for avoiding setting it up for negative conversations. You can either define it for positive ones, for conversations that are neutral. And even if you're defining it on the basis of certain keywords, you can always conduct a deep round of analysis before you actually set up automations. And then we talk about the second one, the influencer conversations. So, when we talk about influencer conversations, I just have a funny thing that's just come into my mind. So I'll tell you what happened with one of the influencers, someone extremely popular, wrote to a brand. That's again a very famous brand. And they praised the brand, all right? So they praised the brand saying that, it's extremely remarkable that you've done something so great. And it was just a praise that they put out. And unfortunately, the brand sent out an automated response. Thank you. Please share your contact details. So, that's how you need to identify, that's how you need to know when to set up automations, as it can be very critical right now. What happened is when a response like that went out to an influencer asking for contact details, that again hampers the brand's reputation some way or the other. Because at the end of the day, looking at that, 10 people are just going to say that, oh, there was this influencer who wrote something and then the brand sent out a response asking for their contact details, which is not very cool again for the brand. So again, it's important to identify when and how to set up automations. Even when we talk about crisis kind of queries, whenever there is a crisis situation, in those scenarios, also setting up an automation would again hamper the brand's reputation. Because if there is crisis revolving around the brand, if they have customers writing to them asking for solutions, seeking for help, and if you're going to send out automated replies, that's going to cause a bit of a brand reputation issue for all of these brands who set up or use automations. And even when we talk about complicated conversations, so conversations that are extremely complicated, that could be negative, that could be very confusing, and it could also involve sarcasm. That's when it's advisable not to yet again set up automations for those kind of conversations as well. So yeah, that's about it. When we talk about the caveats for automation, we need to be extremely, we need to ensure actually that they are set with the right understanding after analyzing different scenarios, after looking at how you can eliminate the risk also. So you need to understand all of this and then go ahead and set up these automations. So yes, Sanjana, anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, to get a detailed training on automation, you can anytime contact us for that. You can get in touch with me, Errol. Our support team would be ready to help you on that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Errol will take up to the Q&A session now. So there are some questions, I guess, under the chat box where people are writing to us.
There are some questions, yes. So you can take that, Sanjana.
Yeah. So the first one was how can we define business hours in Konnect Insights? So we have a TAT settings basically where you can define the business hours, like the working hours, and accordingly the TAT might be calculated as well. And you can on that basis set the automations as well. The next one is can username be auto fetched while sending automated response? Yes, while creating the draft templates to send automated response, you can add the username's syntax under that. And when the response is sent out, it will automatically fetch the username as well. Ellen, will you take up ahead with the other questions?
Yeah, so we also have a question saying that how is TAT calculated on automated responses? So this again, depends on how, like if you set it up for working hours, then based on the TAT that you've set up, it will get calculated like that. But if you've defined your working hours and you're receiving conversations in non-working hours, then there'll be a whole different way of calculating the TAT. Again, the brand gets the ability to define this. The brand gets the ability to identify how they would like to set up their working hours or their non-working hours and calculate the TAT in a different format. So that's yet again another case of scenarios that you can utilize when you're identifying how you would like to calculate your turnaround time. Yeah. So apart from that, these automations are only for first responses. Are there any arrangement for subsequent replies? So yeah, you can, there are various use cases where you can yet again define what would the second reply be, how you would like to set that up. So depending on various scenarios, you can set up different types of automations. Anything you'd like to add to that, Sanjana?
Yeah. So apart from this first level response, there is a lot of automations that you can set up to, as we took you through the follow up and resolve ones. You can even trigger it on the keyword basis. You can do it on other parameters as well. So it's not just to the first level responses, but you can even set out an automated responses on the second and third also, depending upon the rules that you are setting up to.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So any more questions that you have, you can drop in into the chat box. We'll be ready to answer those as well.
Right. And, yet again, if you want to have deeper understanding, more queries, you can get in touch with us. You have the email for support at Konnect Insights. You have a mobile number as well, which you can contact at any given point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have just one more question. Can it be integrated to CRM? So yeah, with Konnect Insights, you have multiple integrations, and with the help of these integrations, you can push data from Konnect to different CRMs. You can pull it as well. There are a lot of things that can be defined. So giving an example, with the help of, when you do the integration, you can also automate data going from Konnect Insights through different CRMs. So that's, again, something that can be set. Yeah. So yes, Sanjana, I think we don't have any more questions. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining in today. It was really good to see people in large numbers join in. It was really fun to conduct this whole webinar, take you through the 20 use cases of automations and help you understand how automations can be used and how it can be employed to ideally enhance customer experience. So that's the whole motive, right? So thanks for your time, everyone. Thanks for joining today. It was real fun. Yes, sir.
Thank you a lot for joining this call. If you need any training and all, do get in touch with us.
Yeah. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. We'll definitely keep on, having a lot of webinars in the near future. But today was really good. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.